Hey brothers and sisters, I'm back doing the second portion of the video from my previous one that I just uploaded recently. So I want to get right into the confirmation. So in the last video I mentioned I had the dream where I was running on ice and everything was so vivid. The dream itself was vivid, and I could like detail everything that was in it except the faces of the people that were running with me, next to me and in front of me, and we're all running, and there's something that we're running to, and like we're sort of running towards, and we're running in this group, and then there's quite a few of us. There's not a whole lot, but there's quite a few of us, and I couldn't tell the faces, and the ice and everything, like the detail with the sounds and everything was so detailed, and I mean detailed. So when we was running and we was coming across this turnaround point or something, and I saw that the leader standing. Now when we came around there and I saw him, he was yelling, hurry, hurry, and I was still running, and I could see people hopping onto a plane and like flying up, and so I started running faster and pushing myself, and so I got closer, and just when I passed the leader and about to hop onto the plane, I woke up out of the dream, and I was wondering like what the dream was about, because I didn't know it was the rapture dream until later on. So I told my wife about it, and fast forward a little bit, maybe around I think June. That's when Joshua's video came out first on God's Daily Voice with Vladimir, and when I first heard it, I was like, am I hearing this kind of thing? Like, am I hearing the rapture this year, 2025? And this was around June. So, and I had no doubt. I had no doubt in there. Somehow I didn't feel any doubt. But my wife, she was so doubtful about it. And I wasn't. So that was the thing. Like, between me and my wife, she doubted a lot of the things that I was telling her. So, and I didn't mind. So, but I was, doing my best trying to explain a lot of things to her. We both had different views, and I was trying to, talk to her about more of my relationship with God and everything. And she was more of like in the scripture kind, which I'm not saying anything wrong about it. It's just, she was like kind of like questioning everything based on the book, the Bible, and I was coming off like a relationship, but not going away from the Bible. Like, I'm sharing everything with her and not disregarding the Bible. So her views are a bit different, but later on she actually caught on with what I was talking all about this whole time. So when Joshua came out with that video, and then he came on Sent Twins twice. I think it was the second time he showed up on the Sent Twins podcast or YouTube. That's when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take it to God now. So I went, and I was, I was in the bathroom at that time. I was sitting in there, and I was like asking God. I was like, Lord. So this is what I said to God. I said, is it true? So I was like, God, is it true this, I was like being specific, like very specific about this. I was like, God, is it true? Joshua said you appeared to him and told him that you are coming back on the 23rd and 24th, 2025. And that's all I asked, kind of like asking this confirmation, right? Okay, so, and after I asked that, I just, kind of like thought about it throughout the day. And there come a moment that me and my family went out on a little bit of vacation. And that night I went to sleep. I had a vision. And so in this vision was, I saw my wife's first cousin. I saw this guy, a cop, and he stays on my route. Actually, I'm a mailman, I deliver mail. And this cop stays on my route. So he was in this vision. And so I see my wife's first cousin, this cop on my route, and I think there's a few moments where I'm viewing third person and first person. So in this vision, I see the cops' kids, the two daughters, I think. So I see the two daughters, and I see my wife's first cousin, and I see somehow my vision zoomed in, and I was able to see what my wife's first cousin did. He took something from the daughters, and I could see the cop seeing that, and it triggered him, and he got mad. So they ended up fighting. And so when they were fighting, I see them rolling down this little hill thing. And as they were rolling down, the dust from them rolling down came up. So the dust rises up, and somehow my vision zoomed in. And I zoomed into this dust as it was rising, and it landed on a leaf. Then my vision zoomed into the leaf. So I'm looking at this leaf now, and I'm looking at how the dust was eating the inside of the leaf. So I'm like holding the leaf, I'm looking at it, and it was slowly eating, not slowly, but it was slow, fast, but I couldn't stop it. It was eating the leaf, and it got to the point where I was trying to stop it, but I couldn't stop it. And as it got closer to the edge of the leaf, the scene changes to where I walked between the cop and my wife's first cousin's fight, and I stopped the fight, and I was able to calm both of them down. And the scene changes. We're on the road, we're riding down, and we're in the car, and we're talking. So I'm talking with this cop. He's actually Hawaiian, and also with my wife's first cousin. So me chilling out. I mean, not chilling, but I'm talking to this Hawaiian guy. He's all cool now with the whole situation that they were, the situation that they were fighting about, and my wife's first cousin. Somehow I got the knowing that he was not cool, and then he started talking. He was like saying something about the reason why he did what he did was all because he couldn't forgive his wife because the wife cheated on him. So I tried talking to him in a way where I could relate in the situation that he's in, to see if he could be, have some sort of forgiving heart or something. So we're continuing down this road, and then we come down to this. It's like an old industrial park. And we came to a stop, and somehow I knew that the cop was listening to Christian music, and he's all cool, he's all but my wife's first cousin is still wasn't cool to my knowing in this vision. So we all got out of the car, we walked up to this place next to a warehouse, and on over this place there's benches and tables at the outside. And we all got over, and I ended up following my wife's first cousin into this warehouse. And then as he went in, I followed, and he actually walked into this dark place. And I was looking at him, and he sat in this dark place. And then it looked like he was sitting, leaning against the wall inside the warehouse. I think he was like as if he was using his phone. And so I came out of the warehouse, and when I came out of the warehouse, I sat out with the cop that was outside, and we started talking, having a really, nice conversation, and we was talking about how beautiful. How I was saying, how abandoned looking the area is, and he was like, it looks abandoned, but the area is still operable, and this area too was actually overlooking the ocean too. And so I was talking to him about how it overlooks the ocean and how beautiful the area is. So we had a really nice conversation, and for some reason I sort of ended up knowing that there's a lady that's walking on the other side, on our right side. And so we looked, and somehow I knew she was wearing tights, and walking her dog. So the second that she was about to pass in front, and before we even see her wearing her tights, we both turned left. And the second I turned left, I see this cloud starting to form into a bear. And I'm looking at it, and it was starting to form, and it looked like a bear, and it was getting bigger. So as it was getting bigger, I said to the guy next to me, the cop, I said, "Do you see that? It looks like a bear." And then for a second, he replied, "Yeah, I see it." So I'm looking at it, and it started moving from our left side, going in front of us. And then as it was coming around, and then it started getting closer to us, and it got bigger. And somehow it stood so big, looking down on us, and now we're looking up. And he looks down, and he goes, "I want you to." And then he looks at me, and he goes, "And you, I want your little ones too." And I woke up out of the vision. And the reason why I woke up out of the vision was because of the voice. It was, you have that, authoritative, and so it's like peace. You feel peace. It doesn't scare you, but you kind of have this sense. It's fears with peace. I don't know how to explain that, but you get, I guess you get both at the same time. But you don't fear anything. But it's like you feel peace at the same time. It's authoritative. And so I woke up out of the vision, and I wrote it down. And so when I had that dream, here, let me see. So I have all these stuff set up, my little confirmation tab. And so I wrote it down exactly right here. If you notice the date stamp on here, that's when I wrote it down. And so because I felt like something was telling me to write it down, so I wrote it down. And I wrote it down exactly that night at around that time in the morning. So, I was kind of like pondering on it, and I was pondering on it, this, the whole time after that, and I told my wife about it. So as I was telling my wife, the cousin was actually already in a messed up marriage. At that time, I guess he had an issue with his wife right at that time when I had the dream. Well, the vision. So, time went by. My wife, kept calling back home, checking on her parents, sister, and also somehow they ended up talking about the cousin, her first cousin, and she was able to kind of like, help out with the marriage and everything. So she talked it out with her cousin, and the rest of her family were also in it, trying to resolve what the issue is all about. And then somehow they got back together and they were good again. Okay, so I still wondered about my vision. Okay, so as the days went by, I think maybe a week or so went by. The cousin, the first cousin, and the wife split. They got into an argument, a fight, and everything. So I was wondering on it now. Now I'm thinking about the marriage now, and also at the same time I think about the vision. So I was like, because when they got together, I was like, okay, so the vision, maybe it would, maybe it's true or not, kind of thing. But then when they got separated again, that's when I was like, oh, could it be this then? And then, as days went by, she was, now I was on the table. I was like watching through all of the videos on YouTube about, this whole Rapture going on. And then my wife, in the living room talking to her parents, and somehow, okay, let's go back a bit. So now after I had that dream, okay, so I then asked God once again. I said, Lord, you have given me the dream, the vision, and I also wanted like something more of a puzzle, right? So I was being specific with God on this one. I said, well, something, but He already gave me this first one, this first vision, and so I was kind of wanting it in a puzzle form. Okay, so now that the cousin is separated from the wife again, okay, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's a confirmation that this vision is true then, because in the vision I saw all of it was happening at the same time, including, I took it as a rapture because at the end where the bear came and it said, I want you too, and then he turns to me and said, and I want your little ones. So I took it that's the rapture. But I was more inclined to maybe this September thing that's going on. Okay, so now I know that part came true where the cousin separated with the wife. And then found out even more was that what I saw in that vision was he took something from the cops' daughters, and so I overheard my wife talking on the phone at that time while I was watching videos on YouTube, and at the same time I was picking up things both from the video I'm watching and from my wife's conversation. It's like my head grabbing puzzle pieces and putting them together. She was saying, oh, so and so, wait, what happened? His wife, bought him a phone, and he ended up taking that phone and sold it for drugs. And the wife found out about it, and that's why they separated. She chased him out. She doesn't want him anymore. And I was like, so when she said that, and I'm watching a video, and as the word confirmation was said by one of the videos I was watching, were kind of like puzzle pieces getting, you're like picking and kind of like matching it together, and boom, I was like, hey, that's the vision I saw. So, I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, oh, okay, so it came true then. It stands today as I'm making this video that he's still separated from the wife. Okay, so but rewind it back a little bit. I was questioning, so now I found out that part. But I was wondering about the cop. I was like, what? Why is the cop in my dream? This guy is on my route, and I don't remember seeing him having any kids. And all of a sudden, like something like just kind of like, hit me in the head. I was like, the wife is a cop. I was like, no ways. So I found out my wife's first cousin, his wife is a cop. So now I'm puzzling these things together. So I was like, oh, okay. So here I'm thinking, it was my customer. How is my customer in this dream? But found out my wife's first cousin's wife is actually a cop. Okay, got that one together. Okay. Days went by, and still watching some videos on YouTube, watching all these confirmations going on, and my wife was still kind of skeptical as I was telling her this, though she saw, she's in this whole confirmation thing, this whole 3 confirmations I got, she was in it, she was witnessing these things. Okay, so, and she's still doubting the first one, but I didn't doubt the first one because it came true. And that's the thing, that when I first got that vision, it came true, and I was like amazed by it. I was like, no ways. So the first vision is saying, when I asked that question to God about the 23-24, that first vision was letting me know, yes, he is coming. But I was still kind of like, looking at the more of the date one, right? The dates. So, okay. Then as the days went by, I was watching more videos on YouTube, and then again I had asked God, Lord, maybe if you could give me I was in my mind I was thinking more of a date. It's something that would confirm that he is coming at these 2 dates, right? Okay, so let me show you guys something on my phone right now as I'm doing a screen recording. So I had asked this. Now, if you could look at the date stamp on this, you see July 24, and I wrote it down for a reason, and this is the reason why I wrote it down. Okay, and so let me get this out of the way. And this is what I wrote on there. I said, in the scripture where the confirmation of the rapture will happen between 23 and 24 of September this year, right? So when I wrote this, I was thinking, like, what could I find in the scripture? Sorry. Oh, and I was like, where in the scripture will I find this this date? So I was like, kind of searching in my mind. I was like, and I doubted. It was like, there's no way, like, in a way, and you kind of have that doubt feeling, like there's no way you can find in there, right? So now you see it's July 24, right? Okay, so I asked that. Okay, so days went by, In August 26, right? August 26. This is like a little over a month now. It was not called for, in the afternoon. I was doing something on my phone, and my wife was like, I'm hungry. Can we go get something to eat? And she wanted to eat at this specific restaurant, as a Chinese restaurant. And so, at the time, she wanted to eat this. So I did like a order, and I'm also looking at the time because they close at 8:30. And so as you can see in this video, right, I mean the screen as I'm talking, this is the time that I ordered, and this is the pickup time. So this is close to the finish, right? I mean the time they close. So I did order this, and so now, and I'm like 17 miles away from this restaurant. So we're kind of like rushing at the same time, and we have two cars. I got my truck, my wife's van with, it was parked at the other side, and so we were kind of rushing. And she was like, I told her leave the kids, and she was like, no, let's take the kids. I was like, oh, okay, hurry up. So we kind of rushed, rushed all the kids. We just took him in my truck. Now in my truck, everything was rushed. I didn't have no car seats in there, right? No car seats. I took three little ones and my second oldest in the truck, and my wife. So we drove off. Now we're heading towards the restaurant, rushing, so you're kind of like speeding, right? So I was speeding up there. And as we're going, and as maybe, I'd say maybe a few miles away from the restaurant, and I knew that I was kind of speeding a little bit, not a little bit, maybe a little more than that. Something came over me. I was like, you might get a ticket. So as I'm going, and this was like at nighttime, as I'm going up, I didn't see the cop. So there was a car coming, and I was, it was coming down south. I was going up north. And for a second, I thought, I was gonna, make it to the restaurant. And sure enough, I see, like, just a little far away, that the car pulled on the side of the road and then turned on the blue lights. And man, I was like, what? And so I was kind of like looking, and I was like, nah, it can't be. And then sure enough, it was the cop. So I was like, oh. So I looked at the rear side mirror, and there was no car behind me, so I knew it was me. So I pulled over. I parked on the side of the road. Got a little stressed, thinking in my head like, man, this is gonna be my first ticket in Hawaii. Of all the years I've been here, never had a ticket in Hawaii. So here I am parked on the side. The cop turns around, comes parked right behind our truck, and I'm stressing out. Like, I was like going through my head, like, oh man, why did I, so I know. And then my wife was like, all right, get the kids, put on the seatbelts. And sure enough, I was like, oh, no car seats and everything. So the cop comes up with his light. He shines it in the back of the cab, and he was like, I see kids in there, I see 1, 2, and they're not wearing no seatbelts. And I was like, you kind of like have that moment, oh boy. And then he goes, the new rules now, if you have dark tints in the rear, if you get pulled over, you must wind down your window. I was like, oh, I didn't know that, sorry. And so I wind the window down. He goes, oh, how old is the youngest one? And I was like, 2. And he goes, oh, no booster seat, no car seats, and no seatbelt for the older one. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Trying to rush, my wife wanted to eat at the restaurant. I was like, don't you have restaurants down where you guys at? And I'm like, well, this one is specific, she wanted something from this restaurant. And he goes, I get it. Okay. he wanted my registration, my license, and everything. So he goes and takes it. And he goes back to his car. Here I am sitting in the truck. I'm like, kind of like stressing out. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. My wife talking to me. I'm like, please don't talk to me right now. I'm trying to calm myself and everything. So, as a cop, in the back in his car, whatever he's doing, I'm sitting there. I'm like asking God. I'm like, Lord, please help. So I'm just sitting there, minutes went by, cop still in there and back in his car. And then a thought came in my head. A thought came and it was like this. I hope he doesn't give me a court date on the 23rd. So that's the thought. And then something was pushing me to say it out loud so that way my wife would witness what I'm saying. And my second oldest in the back. So I said it aloud. I said, I hope he doesn't give me a court date on the 23rd. I don't know why I said that, because this is my first ticket. So minutes went by. I see the cop coming. So he comes by, he stands right next to my window. And he goes, with all the kids, I can't let that go, but I'm gonna have you come to the court on the 23rd of September. Man, I was like, no way in my mind. And my wife was like really listening in. And she even said that afterwards. She was like, man, when I heard that, I felt my heart stopped a little. Because she said she didn't want to believe, or she was saying like she hopes that he doesn't say 23rd, but when she heard that, she said her heart stopped a second, and then and I kind of like looked over to her and real quick, and I looked back to the cop and saying all that, but so here's my confirmation here on this one. So you see right there, you can kind of see the date that he has me on there. He's like, your court date is on the 23rd of September. And I'm like, I was amazed when he said that, because I said it aloud before he even came. And so that's my second confirmation right there. It's my first ticket in Hawaii. And okay, so days went by, and I was like, kind of like even with that, my wife was kind of doubting. She's trying to figure it in her mind, maybe because they have to give you a ticket, a month, kind of like a month ahead kind of thing. But I was in my mind, I was like, of all the dates, why the 23rd? I mean, you could pick, maybe 2 or 5. Why the 23rd? And this is exactly what I had asked the Lord too. When I got that 23rd, I was amazed by it, man, because I was asking specifically these numbers, right? So now let's go back to that that same note that I said, right, in this confirmation. And this was, if you look at it, it's on the 24th of July. And I got this confirmation on the 26th of August. If you notice, the 26th of August is right down here. So I got that, okay? All right, so when I got that on the 26th, confirming that, confirming the 23rd. So I got the 23rd, okay? And after that, I mean, when I got that, I was thinking about the 24th now, if I'm going to get a confirmation for the 24th, okay? So, all right, so, okay. That same day, on the 26th, that same night, actually, I got the ticket. The very next morning, early morning. So I told my family to come say a prayer, but I saw that my wife was already asleep with my little ones. So my two oldest one told them to come, and we started saying prayer. And I had them say the prayer while I was praying on my own. And this is what I said to God. I said, Lord, you know, can you give my wife a dream? Maybe something to, let her know where she's at right now with you. Okay, after that night, we went to sleep. I went to sleep and I got the dream. And in this dream, I was running a race. So in the dream was a lot of us. There's many of us. And in this race, including my wife, in this race, I was losing the race. Somehow I knew the race I was losing. I was losing all the race until the last race. Now, the funny thing about the last race was somehow I knew I was unfit, kind of like chubby, and the rest of the other ones were all fit. Okay? So now, boom, the race starts, and I started running as fast as I can. Like I was running over these hard obstacles. I was jumping and going under, and I see this person just like flying right through, like real quick, and I saw him like fly right through, and I started chasing after him. So boom, I was running, and I was beating everybody. And just the funny thing about all of this was I was beating all the fit ones, and I was unfit according to this dream. So right when I got up to this platform where you're running down to the finish line, you got on, and somehow now my vision, I was viewing third person. I was viewing at the same time, I'm seeing myself running, and I could just see the person right next to me. Like you could see maybe a hair inch difference, like almost as if I'm the one that's gonna win, but you could still see that slight little inch. You could tell that there's just that one person right next to me. Just about when I hit the button to win the race, I see this hand goes before me, and then I tap it right before it taps the thing, the button, and then boom, the camera goes backwards and showing I won. So it shows that I won, and everybody was like celebrating. And then slowly my eyes started to open, and I was like, oh, that felt real. So I just woke up and go back to the dream. Just before I hit that button to finish the race, the knowing came to me, said, your wife is far away from you. And then, yeah, I woke up out of the dream, and I was like, hui. And then I just woke up my wife. I said, hon, I just got a dream. I asked for a confirmation. I asked God to give you a dream to show where you're at with him, and I got the dream instead. And in that dream, this race going on, and so when I finished, before I finished, it said that you were far away from me, and then automatically she replied, she's like, I know it's me. I have a lot of doubts. I don't know why, but I have a lot of doubts. So on the 20, let me show you this. On that date though, on that date, right, when I had that, where is it? So when I had the dream, we was talking, me and my wife, we were talking about, that morning I had the dream. It was on maybe around 2:14 in the morning on the 27th. And we started talking about, as the days went by, we started talking about, stuff. And I always, joke around with my wife about, man, even though I was unfit, I was beating everybody in the race. It's just, having a fun talk and everything. And on the 30th, so on the 30th of August, it was revealed to me on that day. So we were laying on the bed, and me and my wife were just talking, and just a thought came over me. I was like, let me ask ChatGPT where I could find this if there's anything in the Bible that talks about the race and get to the finish line thing. So here it is. I screenshot it. Oh wait, not that one. Sorry. Where is it? Here it is. And if you notice, I said in ChatGPT up here, I was saying something like, oh, sorry. Wait. I was saying something like, where in the Bible talks about run your race to the finish? And then I found this one highlighted right here. 1 Corinthians 9:24. It says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Man, it really shocked me right there, man. Like, and it said run in such a way as to get the prize. I was like in shock when I saw that. And what made it even more shocking, and my wife even was shocked too. Man, I cried, man. I cried after this one because I wrote this note right here on July 24. Right? I wrote that on July 24, right? And that's what I wrote. And so I got the 23rd for my ticket, and then I got this one, the dream I had on the 30th, right? So I had a dream on the 30th. Oh no, here. I had a dream on the 27th, but it was revealed to me on the 31st. If you notice the date right there and the time. And so yeah, man, it was so amazing. And then the same date that I had that confirmation on that had the dream on the 27th early morning. It was around the afternoon that on a notification on my phone there was a scripture. I didn't pay attention, but I think I read it, but I totally forgot, and I was going to send my wife, but I screenshotted it, and so that way I could send it to her, because I just read it. I read it at that time, but didn't even think about it afterwards until I had the confirmation was revealed to me right there. And remember, I said in the race there was that somebody that was like a hair inch, like I could see him right there. And I know who exactly that person was. Here, let me show you. Look at where it says in that Bible verse that I screenshotted. It says, it is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or abandon you. Do not fear or be dismayed. And I screenshotted this on August 27th at around the afternoon. Man, I'm telling you, this is too supernatural to make up, man. And and afterwards, man, God keeps just really putting it in my head that he's confirming this date on me, because after I got the first one, I get the second one, and I get the third one, which is, if you see clearly, it says 1 Corinthians 9, right there, 9:24. And that was exactly my dream right there. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. Alright, so, man, it's already like mind-blowing for me and even my wife. Now, this one got me in tears, not knowing my wife was in tears too, because she was witnessing everything that I was telling her and letting her see. In all three of them, she was witnessing, but the two, she was still doubting until the third one. So, alright, days went by. I get to, kind of like asking chat about, I have all my apps, separated in these, tabs right here, right? So I got this tab right here. I open up, I often use Copilot, to kind of ask questions and to get me scriptures if I'm kind of like, not really searching the book itself, the physical book. So I kind of like ask Chat to look for the scriptures, then I search it in the app. So I was about to use the Copilot, this is what I normally use. And I remember another brother in Christ that he was talking about the constellation, right? Constellations of the stars and everything, and so on. So how they were all aligned to how they all aligned to give that picture and everything. So I was fascinated in that. So he I think he had an app. I don't know if I don't remember if he actually showed the app, but I ended up finding the app. So this would be the app that I will be using to look at that. So I go into this app, right? Instead of going to Copilot, I went Stellarium. I go right into Stellarium, right? So fascinating, going. I was just kind of like moving the app around like this until I came across a bear. Where is it? So I keep going like this, and going like this, and that's the bear, Ursa Major. But when I saw that, I was like, hey, that was the bear in my dream, my first one. I was like, nah, no way. So, I kind of like, was fascinating and knowing more about this Ursa Major. If you really look at it though, here, let me do something on this app here, right here. So I can, forward time on this one just to see where everything is at, right? So I'll if you notice, in my dream, I said, that first dream I said, on the left, right when I turned left, I started seeing this cloud starting to form into a bear, right? And it started to move from the left going in the front, and it was getting bigger, right? Well, guess what? If you look carefully, I'm gonna move time, right? The bear moves if time goes up, right? See? Right? Oh, that's pretty amazing though. So time, it moves right there, right? Just depending on where you're at, you're probably gonna see the Big Dipper, Small Dipper, but this one is the Big Dipper that forms the bear. Okay, so now in that vision, I saw the bear move, and when it got bigger, it said, "I want you to, and I want your little ones too." Boom. So I asked, technology nowadays is so advanced, and if you probably know about Grok, the Tesla's AI, or Elon's AI. So I figured, since he talks so much about how smart his Grok is, so I'm gonna ask a few questions on Grok. So when I asked the question, I also screenshotted it. So my question was, so I'm gonna go to the screenshots. Okay. So where is it? Was it this one? Okay, this is the question I asked. All right, I said, in September, comparing to all the days, which dates were Ursa Major at its peak ascension? So I'm thinking about the reason why I asked this question was because based on how the bear moved and it got to the highest point and it looked down. So I was asking when it will reach the the highest point that it'll reach. So I asked that question. So it gave me these, if you like, you can just read through all of that, but I'll slowly scroll up so I can get to the main point of this whole thing, right? So it broke it down like in so much whatever detail it gave. I'm not so much into these things. All I'm looking for is the main thing. So as you keep scrolling, keep going all the way till you get to your conclusion, then you get your final answer. Have you noticed the date that it gave me when it reaches that? Between 23 to 30. Man, I'm telling you guys, I'm not making this up. I'm telling you the truth. And God bear witness what I'm saying. That's just, and when I asked this, I was asking specifically for Hawaii, right? So I decided, you know what, let me ask about Israel. The time difference is the reason why I asked. Okay, let me get out of this. I asked this one for this one, okay? If you look, I said, what up? And so, that first screen that you saw was the main question, but then I said, what about Israel? Then it gave me the same, how detailed it was breaking it down. So if you want to look through it, you can pause the video and look at it, all of that. And I scrolled all the way down to the main point and final answer. I mean, if you look at it, it's giving me those dates. And that was for Israel. So, I mean, I guess, AI is also, they're just predicting. They're not actually giving, but they're predicting. But look at the prediction. If you look at it, since we're not at that time frame, but it's giving a prediction because, how things move with all the weather and so. But it's giving you a prediction, and look at the prediction. Prediction is spot on. Now, I don't know what, but man, ain't nobody gonna tell me I'm lying or anything because